Good morning, and welcome back to the Daily Trucking Market Update podcast. I'm your host, Driven, and on this show, I dive into the markets to keep you truck drivers, you owner operators, up to date so you can best position your truck to make the most money. Now, I'll be using the DAT load board, and I appreciate them sponsoring this video. And in return, they've provided you with the link down in the description box for 10% off for your first 12 months, so check it out. Now, stick around. I got a dad joke to tell, and then we'll dive right in.
Rolling down the highway, sun just breaking through. Radio's playing loud, the show's for me and you. Learn how to book your loads and make that money flow. Keep the shiny side up wherever we go.
Now, all that I ask for the little chuckle, or maybe not, is to hit that like button and maybe consider subscribing if you get some value from this, or maybe just a laugh. Good morning. Hope everybody's staying safe out there. Let's go ahead and get right into it, starting with the dad joke. Ghosts are bad liars because you can see right through them. That's a good one. All right, let's have a look at the weather. We've got that system that started up in the northwest, and it's hanging out over Utah, over Iowa, parts of Montana, parts of Idaho, and Colorado. So this thing's spreading a long ways. You get some snow dumping in Nevada as well, and then you've got rain all the way down there from Arizona, heck, all the way up there through North Dakota. So this thing is big. It's dumping a lot of snow. So you guys be careful. It left a lot of snow, overnight, running through Idaho and Nevada and Oregon and Washington. Excuse me. So y'all be careful if you're headed that way or if you're over there. Looking throughout today, it looks like it's going to kind of dissipate a little bit, die off a bit. But then we got this severe popping up. It's right there in New Mexico in the top western half, the northwestern quadrant, I guess, not half. So that be careful of that. Is that moving? It's not really moving. I'm not sure what that thing's doing. Oh, okay. So this storm was earlier in the week. It was showing that this thing was going to move off to towards the Great Lakes, but it's not. It's kind of hanging out over Colorado and in New Mexico and parts of Texas. So I guess that's why it's getting bad or severe over there, because it's just hanging out. So that's forecasted for later. Let's see, what is that? Later today? No, hold on. No, hold on. So there's tomorrow. So it's supposed to get severe like tonight, and then tomorrow. So you guys are rolling this weekend, going through there, keeping a close eye on the weather. It's going to be pretty bad. I don't know what red means, honestly. Doesn't look like necessarily snow. Just severe thunderstorms, I guess. Well, anyway, if you're over there in that part of the country, just be careful. We'll go into that a little bit more. And then through the weekend, you're getting some rain up there in Washington, and even some snow up there on the border, Canadian border, from Washington all the way close to touching Montana. So yeah, so that's what it looks like. I don't really see much else to speak of. Yeah, I don't really see much else to speak of going through. It is windy over there in Southern California and Southern Nevada. So if you're headed out of Los Angeles going over to Nevada, it's going to be really windy. So be careful up there. Showing some wind in the southern portion of Arizona and kind of in the middle of New Mexico, probably just ahead of that storm. So, and even what is that over in Kansas? It might be a little windy. So yeah, so there we go. Y'all stay safe. This is weatherstreet.com. I highly advise that you find one that you like on your phone and keep up with it. So moving into the trucking market update, we're going to start off with the national load counts. This gives us a good barometer over all of what's going on. Plus, I have a decent memory, so I can kind of compare the states to how they were this week and even over the past couple of weeks. Kind of what's going on. Follow the trends. This is not, you can't just look at this portion of the load board, though. You got to know exactly where in these states where the freight is located, which we'll go into in a few minutes. A good example of this is California, even though it's going to be significantly above kind of the 50-50 truck to load ratio, the 50-50 mark. Um, not the freight's not going to be all over the state. We want to know exactly where those are located. So stay tuned for that. But let's get into it. So Alabama, 675 loads to 193 loads out. So it took a dive yesterday, and it hasn't gotten any better today, unfortunately. Arkansas, 343 loads in to 283 loads out. It started off the week strong, but it is not going to end strong, unfortunately. Arizona, 489 loads in, 712 loads out. What's going on over in Arizona? That's fascinating. You, I mean, you might have some negotiating power over there, although I don't think the brokers will be used to it. So, um, yeah, I don't know. Right, just remind them of what's going on and try to get more money, I guess. California, 1,542 loads in, 3,499 loads out. That is amazing. That's a huge increase, huge swing for the truck drivers. You have negotiating power, a good amount of negotiating power over there in California. Even though it's just a little bit more than 2 to 1. Uh, where that massive, even though you have that massive number, it's only a little bit more than 2 to 1. So, there's not a ton of negotiating power over there, but you definitely have it. So, certainly use it, especially with Arizona being the way that it is. I'd be curious to see how Nevada's doing. On the heat map, it shows really good. So, if it is also considerably above average over there, you definitely have some negotiating power over there. So you wanna use that. Colorado, 546 loads in to 229 loads out. It's normal. Connecticut, 141 loads in to 136 loads out. DC has 35 loads headed out of DC. Not sure what that's all about. Delaware, 47 loads in to 63 loads out. Florida, 2,744 loads in, 321 loads out. So pretty rough there for Florida, even more rough than usual. Georgia, 2,312 loads in, 745 loads out. So really rough for Georgia as well. If you're down there, just get what you can, get the heck out. Iowa, 420 loads in to 451 loads out. So unfortunately, we got really close to that, that one load to one truck ratio there in Iowa. So we kind of lost the negotiating power there. Idaho, 119 loads in, 318 loads out. Now, I'm sure that a lot of what we're going to see up there in the Northwest is going to be due to that storm blowing through and all the snow that it's dropping. So you've got negotiating power there for sure. But I imagine that the loads are probably just going to be posted for higher rates. That being said, always ask, right? And always come prepared. A prepared truck driver makes more money. Illinois, 938 loads in, 2,051 loads out. So Illinois remained strong, throughout the week. The states surrounding it have been really good throughout the entirety of the week too. So you've got negotiating power up there. Indiana, 766 loads in to 1,069 loads out. So a bit of a bit of a pullback for Indiana, though it's still in good shape. So we're not concerned about Indiana, but you may have lost a little bit of negotiating power there. Kansas, 325 loads in to 258 loads out. It's normal. Kentucky, 608 loads in to 582 loads out. So a little bit of a dip on both sides of the coin for Kentucky, though it's right there at that 1-to-1 split. So it's okay. It's not great, though. Louisiana, 358 loads in to 290 loads out. It's normal. Massachusetts, 338 loads in to 292 loads out. Maryland, 366 loads in to 415 loads out. So Maryland remains a little bit above that 1-to-1, but not much to speak of, unfortunately, there. Maine, 83 loads in, 169 loads out. Michigan, 397 loads in to 854 loads out. So Michigan still remaining strong all the way through the week. So love to see that. That's great. This one's going to be affected by Ohio as well, but you're in really good shape in Michigan. In Minnesota, 269 loads in to 709 loads out. That's really good, That's that's nearly a 3 to 1 there in Minnesota. So got more negotiating power there in Minnesota than we've seen so far. And Wisconsin was in it was in a really really good shape yesterday. So if it's still in a really really good shape, that Minnesota Wisconsin market would be really really good for the truck drivers. Missouri 630 loads in to 606 loads out. So a bit of a slide for Missouri. Mississippi 329 loads in to 197 loads out. It's the first time we've seen it below that 1 to 1 mark, unfortunately, this week. Montana 55 loads in, 122 loads out. North Carolina 1,793 loads in, 541 loads out. So rough shape for North Carolina. North Dakota 49 loads in, 189 loads out. So really good shape there. Over a 3 to 1 for North Dakota. Yeah, you got negotiating power there in North Dakota for sure. Nebraska 219 loads in to 138 loads out. New Hampshire 99 loads in to 45 loads out. Jersey 475 loads in, 1,293 loads out. So increase in production and a decrease in trucks headed back. So that's really good shape for Jersey. Definitely have negotiating power there today. I'm sure the eastern half of Pennsylvania is probably still hot. Unless that has cooled off, Jersey, you do have negotiating power. New Mexico, 136 loads in to 104 out. Nevada, 223 loads in to 508 loads out. So Nevada remaining in really good shape. Um, it picked up about halfway through the week, and it looks to still be hanging on strong. So got negotiating power there. New York, 622 loads in to 1,138 loads out. So a bit of an increase in production for New York, which is good. Ohio, 1,107 loads in to 1,480 loads out. Not a huge slide, but a little bit of a slide for Ohio. That being said, it's still still the loads should be posted well, and if they're not, make them pay. Oklahoma, 448 loads in to 207 loads out. Oregon, 118 loads in, 427 loads out. So really good shape for Oregon. I'm sure that's because of that storm that was up there. Um, Although that being said, it's been a good market for the past 3 to 4 weeks. So it's still remaining a good market, but it's even more affected because of the storm. When these storms come through and not as much freight rolls, you have more negotiating power, so use it. It's there. PA 1,463 loads in to 1,685 loads out. So I mean the production's there, but we have a lot of trucks headed in, more than usual. So it's there. It's not going to affect the markets surrounding it, but it's not in as good a shape as it could be. But it's in okay shape, so it's not going to hurt the states around it. But you're not going to have a ton of negotiating power there. A little bit. Rhode Island, 58 loads in to 33 loads out. South Carolina, 848 loads in to 340 loads out. That's poor, even for South Carolina. South Dakota, 77 loads in to 108 loads out. That's good. That's not affecting the North Dakota market. Tennessee, 1,078 loads in to 549 loads out. That's a big drop for Tennessee. Almost two loads for, or I'm sorry, almost two trucks for every load. That's worse than normal. That being said, just grab what you can, get the heck out of there. Unfortunately, Tennessee or Texas, 3,596 loads in and 2,161 loads out. I hate even talking about Texas because just the freight's so bad here. I have PTSD from that. Utah, 254 loads in, 425 loads out. So an increase for Utah. Once again, that's because of the storm. Um, these natural disasters, as unfortunate as they are, I mean, this isn't a disaster per se, but an increased weather event, right? We'll call it that. Um, it's favorable for the truck drivers afterwards. It's unfortunate, but it is what it is. Virginia, 811 loads in, 578 loads out. It's a bit of a slide for Virginia. Vermont, 31 loads in, 48 loads out. Washington, 244 loads in, 690 loads out. So once again, increase because of the storm. Use it. Like it was already a good market. It's just even better now. Here's Wisconsin: 479 loads in, 1,323 loads out. So still remaining very strong. Um, you certainly have negotiating power there. It's not quite as good over there in Michigan, unfortunately, but um, it's not bad over in Michigan. But the Wisconsin market, Wisconsin would be an ideal place to go, right? Because you could bounce all the way over to Minnesota if the price was right, but you probably don't even need to. Um, that being said, Chicago is also, pretty close too. It's a short hop. So you have like three different markets. I mean, it's all one market, but you got three different areas that you could find really good freight. The load to truck ratios are in excellent shape up there. That's where you're going to make your money. What? I have no idea what I just did. That's fascinating. We were almost done. And I mean, the last two states are okay. I don't know what I did. West Virginia, 118 loads in to 189 loads out. I was about to skip these last two states. And Wyoming, 32 loads in to 124 loads out. Unfortunate for Wyoming. I don't know what that is. That's I don't know. We'll close that out. All right, here's the trend lines. What are the trend lines? The trend lines are the percentages for load to trucks as well as the spot rates. We These don't change much throughout the week, so I don't dive into these every day. I go into them on Monday, usually Monday, Tuesday, and also Wednesday usually as well. But I start to just go through a little bit faster. You can look at it if you want to. I'm not going to dive into it because it really doesn't change that much. I do want to touch these real quick, being that it is Friday. We're at the end of the week. This is the spot rate overall for van, flatbed, and reefer this month compared to last month. So vans are up 5 pennies to 202. Flatbed is up 5 pennies to $2.43, and reefer is the same as it was last week. Which for reefer, that's an increase because it started out 2 pennies short. So that 238. And then the average price of fuel across the nation is $3.63 per gallon. Now looking at the heat map. So this tells us exactly where that freight is located. I'm just going to start up there in the Northwest as usual. And there's just freight everywhere. It's because of that storm that's going through. Fortunately, you can't really go wrong with wherever you're located. So just pretty much anywhere up there, you're going to be in good shape. You certainly have negotiating power no matter where you're at, be it Idaho all the way up through Seattle and all the way up to the border. I've picked up a couple miles from the border up there, which I'm sure probably most of you have too. Anyway, but Seattle and Portland are going to be where the majority of that freight's located. So that's going to be where you're going to get your best rates and you're going to have the most negotiating power. Moving all the way down California, the southern half of California is all hot. That's interesting. The San Francisco market has heated up as well. So really, I mean, kind of what I said at the beginning of the video usually pertains. Well, I guess it still does. You can't go to the very northern parts of California and expect to have a lot of negotiating power or see a lot of freight. So it does still remain, but normally it doesn't look like this on a Friday. Today's a kind of an anomaly, I guess, for California. It's probably being affected by that Northwest. Just trucks aren't moving as heavily, or as much, and that's why there's more freight there. That being said, Nevada, the southern half of Nevada is actually hot today, which is this is the way that I expect it to be. But over the past couple months plus, this has not been the case. It's been the reverse. So this is kind of what I expect the map to look like, and it finally does. Moving on, over in Texas, the border areas are above, or they're at average, I should say, but they're above where they normally are. So that's interesting. But you can't really, it's not much to speak of, unfortunately. The truck to load ratio is just so bad. It's so bad. And then you've got the Dallas market and the Houston market. The Dallas, there's that western portion. I consider the Dallas market as well because it's kind of a short hop to get over there to get that freight. So I think the Dallas market's cooled off just a bit. So I would give the winner to Houston today. if there is a winner. Not really, because the Louisiana market's not even above average either. At least the bottom half of that. So, I don't know. It's just not great. It's not great over here from Texas, or actually from like New Mexico and east. Anything south of like Oklahoma or Tennessee, like just period. Moving on, the Midwest, or well, I guess we'll cover the other markets. At Memphis is where the freight's at over there. Okay, and Atlanta. That's it. That's all I have to say about that entire region, and that hasn't changed in the past couple of months. Kansas City market is still average, um, while the rest of Kansas is heating up a bit. That being said, the rest of Missouri kind of cooled off a little bit. Iowa's kind of, come back to kind of reality there. So Kansas City, not the greatest of markets, even though it's average for Kansas City. And St. Louis has cooled off a bit. So it was it? I think it was hot to start the week, or maybe make I don't know, maybe above average, put it that way. And then it has just kind of slowly cooled off as the week has progressed. Sorry, this is the first cup today. I'm sure y'all understand. Oh, moving on in Indiana. Well, let's go to Illinois. And so Illinois, it's the majority of it's cooled off. Like the majority, or the ratio has stayed the same than as it was yesterday. Well, no, that's not true. Some of the production was knocked off, so I guess it did come back to come slide back a little bit. But all the freight looks to be located in the Chicago market. So, um, yeah. And then the Indiana market, it's in the southern half. It's not a hot market, which is what it had been. So a slide again there. Ohio, the majority of Ohio is still, in good shape, is still above average. Normally, what we see for Ohio at the end of the week is that northeastern market is hot, and the rest of it is just either average or below. But Ohio in good shape just overall. So that's good to see. And even looking over in that western half of Pennsylvania, it's still average as well. Normally, it slides to cool off as well. So Ohio, a really good state to go to. Michigan's still in good shape, not great, but still in good shape for that western half. But best market is probably up there, that north of Chicago, up there in Wisconsin, or even potentially over there in the Minneapolis market. So, but in Wisconsin, the freight's going to be on the eastern half, and more of it, northern up towards Green Bay, as opposed to being on the border or closer to Chicago. So you really can't go wrong anywhere from Chicago all the way up to Green Bay. That's going to be, well, it's not the best market. The best market is going to be the very northwest market, but that's kind of because of a storm. If we rule out the storm, best market is at Wisconsin Minneapolis market, and well, excuse me, Wisconsin Chicago market. Yeah, so that's what the heat map looks like. That is what a trucking market update looks like. If you made it this far into the video, I sincerely appreciate it. Please don't forget to give the video a like. Leave a comment down below. That's good for the algorithms. It doesn't matter what you say, just as long as you say something. I appreciate all of you. Thank you so much. Keep the shiny side up. Stay safe, especially if you're headed west this weekend. That storm, just as a reminder, make sure that you check your weather throughout the weekend. Keep that shiny side up, guys. But as always, stay driven. I'll see you on Monday.